This episode is me speaking with you. This is not me talking at you. This is not me pointing fingers. If any fingers are being pointed at anyone, it's my own fingers being pointed at myself because this is a hard pill that I had to swallow for myself. And that is that recognizing my content strategy was truly killing my brand. It was killing my connection to my audience and therefore also killing my conversions. And while there's a lot that goes into this conversation, there are really two key things that I've learned over the last few weeks that have been absolutely revolutionary for revamping my social media to the point where my virtual assistant literally texted me yesterday and she, let me actually just read the text. Let me pull it up for you right now. She said, "Girl, the life that you brought back to your Instagram account is so noticeable. I'm loving seeing you talking to camera more. Just wanted to say that you're killing it." And then one of my friends, Nicole Burke, she said, "Okay, your recent content is bold and I absolutely love it." And that is those are two of like 10 different messages that I've gotten from my friends just over the last few weeks, honestly, with my content. And the crazy thing is I haven't done anything truthfully revolutionary with my content, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it here in just a second. But the shift that I realized, or I guess the moment that has really shifted things, is I realized that with my content on Instagram, I was treating it as how can I get in and get out as quickly as possible, and that was really focused on me, right? How can I spend the least amount of time on Instagram? How can I, how my content perform as the best as possible? What is the easiest format for me to post? Everything was really me focused. And while I don't think that Instagram needs to take over your life, I don't think you should be spending hours and hours and hours on Instagram every single day. What I've learned is that effort is cool. Effort is cool with your content, and your people recognize effort. And for me, with my content strategy on my feed on Instagram, it really looked like what is the least that I can do and still show up. And what that looked like was B-roll content that was just super quick with, a little hook and then a caption that was maybe repurposed from a podcast episode, and then maybe also a carousel that was like two slides where it was just a hook and then it was a recap of like a podcast episode, getting people to comment that way. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that that content doesn't work. What I am saying is that my intentions behind posting that content were not aligned with the vision that I had for my Instagram account, with the goals that I had for my Instagram account, and for the relationship that I wanted to build with my audience. It was really focused on what is the lowest lift way that I can show up so that I don't have to spend any time on Instagram. And truth was, I wasn't spending hardly any time on Instagram. I would post and I would get off. I would hardly ever respond to comments. I had so many unread direct messages because I wasn't spending any time on there. My Instagram story views were so low. I was losing followers. Everything was focused on me and my metrics were showing for it. And so I just sat down with myself and I had a really honest conversation. It was about 4 weeks ago. And I was like, something needs to change. And I need to put more effort into my content. And I kid you not, guys, I am only 2 weeks into this journey here. And those are the text messages that I'm getting. And those are not the only messages that I'm getting. I am getting people to comment on my posts saying the same things. I'm getting direct messages from people who are like, what are you doing? Like, you are doing something different and it is noticeable. I am loving your content. I'm getting so many of those messages and I am 2 weeks into this. I've posted 12 times. Okay. That is one part of it. Now, the other part of it is my Instagram stories because my feed alone is not going to build my brand. It's not going to change my life in terms of revenue. I also pair that with my stories and having a good story strategy. And that is what is going to change things, is a good feed strategy paired with a good story strategy. Now on my Instagram stories, Same exact approach. My approach was, how can I spend the least amount of time on social media and get the most amount of results, right? And I was comparing my time spent on Instagram to the results that I got when I was spending a lot more time on Instagram. And I was like, why? Like, I look back and I'm like, I used to get making sales from Instagram stories used to be really easy for me. And making, like growing my email list and connecting with my audience and, getting people to love my content, that used to be so easy for me. Like, what in the heck is going on? That's literally what I was thinking. And I never sat down to just have that really honest conversation with myself that, like, I am the problem. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, in the past I was, blaming the algorithm, yada, yada, yada. That's not the case. But I was just thinking about like, oh, how can I make things as simple as possible? So with my Instagram stories, that means that I was just posting one single story. And that story had a hook at the top, and then there's a paragraph of text, and then it said, direct message me, a specific word, and I'll send you the link to XYZ, whether that was an offer or whether that was a freebie or whether that was a podcast episode. And those stories, those work, but not for building your brand, and not if you're selling a mid to a high ticket offer, and not if you want people bought into you. When it comes to being on social media, the way that you win is when people buy you. And the only way that they can do that is if they know you. And the best way that they can know you is through Instagram stories. And that was, again, a really hard pill for me to swallow, because the one story, like posting one story, let it expire, the next 24 hours, post another story, let it expire, that is really easy. Really, really, really easy. And it does help to increase story views. And it does also work to build your email list. And it even works to sell low ticket. But if you are selling mid to high ticket and you want to build a brand where people are there for you and they want to support you, then you have to post more than a single story. Now, I'm not saying that there's never a time where you will see me post a single story. You'll see me post those because there is a strategic element to using that strategy. You will see me post that, but it'll mainly be for growing my email list, and it'll maybe be one time a week. It's not every single day, because I recognize that the way that I show up on stories, again, it affects my entire brand. And with me showing up on Instagram stories with still a strategy, but opening it up to more than just one story a day, where I'm really, again, inviting people back into my life, that has brought and opened up so many conversations with people, not just in terms of like people responding to my stories, but people being like, wow, I had no idea that you thought this way or that you did this. Or I even had one of my mastermind clients, I posted an Instagram story, and it was me like chopping up food in the kitchen, and I posted a link to like one of my favorite recipes that I'm loving right now, because I typically get in on one recipe and then I make it like 5 million times until I burn myself out of it. So I linked that one because it's so good. And she was like, I've never seen this angle, like in your house before. And she's like, this like feels like very like engaging and interesting to me. And I was like, that is so interesting, because I would have never thought that, but it totally makes sense. And I'm not saying that you have to film in different angles in your house, but with me just sharing the things that I was doing, I cook dinner 6 days a week, not if not 7 days a week. I'm cooking dinner. All I did was prop up my camera and share something that I was already doing. I was already looking at that recipe. I already had it pulled up. I just linked that on the story, and I took a video of me, something I was already doing. So it really wasn't that much harder. And the conversations that I've been having are crazy. I felt so stuck with my content. I felt like my Instagram account was dead. And I don't say that from the perspective of like, oh, I can never grow it again. But I was like, something has to change, because I love my Instagram account. I love my community. I just felt so disconnected. And I honestly thought that I would never get back to the point. I don't even know why I'm going to cry right now. I thought that I would never get back to the point where my Instagram account was what it was, 2 years ago. And within 2 weeks of just really intentional focus, I've gotten it back to that point. Now, nothing revolutionary has happened in terms of like if we're talking about metrics on Instagram, if we're talking about revenue made, nothing revolutionary has happened in these 2 weeks. For full transparency, I've not gone viral. I've grown my email list like normal, like nothing as crazy has happened. My revenue has been the same. I mean, maybe like a few extra sales here and there, but the feeling that I have in terms of being connected to my community, the way that my community is responding to my content, that has been revolutionary. And I know that over time, that is also going to affect sales. That's also going to affect opportunities that come my way because people see that my community is really engaged with my content, which helps to land brand deals, and not just brand deals, but high paying brand deals. There's so much that comes from this. And I guess I should have started with this backstory. The reason why I realized that I wanted to take this all seriously again and not just posting just to post and seeing the least amount of time that I can spend on social media. This all started with the KIT conference, and that was now about 3 weeks ago that I went to that. So I took a week after that I spent planning, and then the last 2 weeks I've spent executing, and I will continue to execute. But at that KIT conference, I walked into a room at this conference, and it was the opening party. And I am standing in this room, and the room, just to kind of like paint the picture for you, there's like hundreds of people who are in this room, and the lights are like, I mean, you can see in the room, but like they're kind of like dim, where it's not super bright outside, where like if you're looking for someone, you would just easily be able to see them. You kind of have to like really intently look, or like kind of walk around the room. And I knew going into this conference that I only knew one person. And that was my friend Ellen Yin, and she was speaking. And I was like, okay, I need to find Ellen. So I'm like searching this room. I can't find Ellen, but I'm kind of like walking around. Like I felt like a lost sheep. And as I'm walking around, a person comes up to me. She's like, I follow you on Instagram. And she's like, I love your stuff. I listen to every single episode on your podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I continue walking around, and I continue walking around. And throughout the entire weekend that I was there, so many people came up to me and they're like, I follow you on Instagram. I recognize you from Instagram. Left and right, people were like, oh my gosh, Maya Nicole, I follow you on Instagram. I see you on Instagram. I love your content. I love your podcast. I love your offers. I've done all this. And it was such a good reminder to me that the time and effort that I had spent in building my Instagram account was worth it. And I know you might be thinking like, how have you not like had that realization, having built the amount of like having built the business that you built and the revenue and just all these different opportunities? Like, I'm not saying that I didn't recognize that, but it was just a really good reminder to me being in that room of like, oh, this is really cool. This is the impact. And like seeing those people say, I've listened to every single one of your podcast episodes so many times. I'm recording these episodes and it's just, I'm just here just talking to my screen, right? Like I don't get feedback from these podcast episodes unless people leave like ratings and reviews or whatnot, which doesn't happen very often. Like I'm not getting a lot of feedback from these podcast episodes. And so to see someone in person to tell me that they've listened to all my podcast episodes is like, whoa, like that is a real human being. Like it was just a really good reminder again of like, this is what I'm doing it for. And then also because people were recognizing me left and right, there were two specific people. So one person walked up to me, he saw me across the room and he walked up to me and he's like, I have been following you on Instagram. I absolutely love your stuff. And he's like, can I take a selfie with you? And he told me about his wife. He had told his wife about my Instagram account when his wife's Instagram account had like started taking off. And they bought my direct message automation course, which is Autopilot Empire. And she had like, she implemented from that immediately and was like making $5,000 a day off of what I was teaching inside of direct message, like utilizing direct message automation on her content. And anyways, that was like amazing in and of itself. And then he's like, can I get your phone number? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he invites me to a private dinner. And then from that private dinner, like there was just so many opportunities that came that way from him. And then another person recognized me that same day and she came up to me. She's like, I follow you on Instagram. And she introduced me to, I mean, she herself is amazing, but she also introduced me to so many amazing people. And I got invited in so many rooms, and including like private masterminds that are upcoming, like retreat type masterminds because of her, which is all because of my content and taking the time and energy and effort and putting myself out there through my content. And so that is really what started that whole thought process of like, okay, something needs to change here. I want to grow this to the next level. I want the 300,000 followers. I want the 400,000 followers. I want the 500,000 followers, not just because of the cool opportunities and not just because of the vanity metrics of it, but because of the impact. Because I know that what I have to share, people need to hear. And the way that I build my business, I'm freaking good at building businesses that are sustainable and that are life-giving. You know, my motto is stacking income and stacking memories. I know that more people need that, and I know that as I focus more and put more effort into my content, that is only going to increase the impact that I have. So that was my huge realization. All this to say, if you're still listening right now, bless your heart. I did actually, I like very briefly outlined this episode. I actually had no intention in this episode to share the things that I'm sharing with you, but things are flowing, and I feel in my heart that I just need to put this out here because I know it's going to resonate with, hopefully, with you listening right now. But the thing that I want to get to close out this episode is, what did I change with my content? So I told you with my Instagram stories, I was only posting the one story each day, letting that expire. And that was all that I was doing there. And now with my Instagram stories, my strategy there is to just incorporate more of my day to day life. There's nothing revolutionary, really, and truly, when it comes to what I'm doing on my Instagram stories right now. I mean, you can watch them. I don't really have a strategy of how many times I'm posting or when I'm posting. I just know that two things need to be accomplished each day. Number one, I need to bring people behind the scenes in some way into my day to day life, whether that's just one specific thing that I'm doing, like maybe a home renovation project, or maybe it's me sharing that I worked out in the morning, or maybe it's me sharing a question that I had as I was journaling, and working on my mindset that day. And then the second thing that I need to include is, I need to sell. I need to sell my offer, and whatever offer makes sense in terms of my goals and my focus in that specific season of my business. So those are the two things. And also, I guess I should say a third thing. A third thing for me on Instagram stories is, how can I invite conversation? What questions can I ask? How can I ask for advice or feedback or opinions? And getting my people to talk to me, and like actually talking to me, and not just responding with a keyword. Like, how can I create more conversations there? And I've trying to like voice memo people more so they can actually hear my voice when they do direct message me. And that has just been really, really helpful for me with Instagram stories, again, in creating conversations. And so that's what I'm doing on Instagram stories. For my feed, I challenged myself, after I left that conference and just the experiences that I had, that I was going to take things more seriously. And I really wanted to push myself outside of my comfort zone, which was posting the B-roll content and posting, these really simple, like, I don't even want to say, yeah, they were just very simple carousel posts where it was just a hook, and then it was a little snippet of like an episode of my pod, like a almost like a summary of like one part of the episode of my podcast, and getting people to comment that way. Every once in a while, of course, I would throw in a carousel that wasn't that, but I really wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone, and talking reels are working extremely well on Instagram right now for growth, for connection, for conversions. And so that is what I decided to do, is posting one face to camera talking reel every single day. I started 2 weeks ago, and I have the goal to do this every single day. Well, I shouldn't say every single day. Monday through Saturday. I always take Sundays off of social media and my phone and just everything in general. I completely unplug on Sundays. So 6 days a week, starting 2 weeks ago, all the way up until the end of August. That is my goal, and hold me accountable to that. I hope that that I really hope that you do. Putting this out publicly, that definitely helps to hold me accountable. But that has been revolutionary. And in terms of like my strategy, like what do I talk about and whatnot, I truthfully do not have a full set content strategy. I'm not focused on content pillars. There are two things that I'm doing. Number one, I have a content series, which is bought back by AI. And the reason why I have that content series is to help sell my offer, which right now is Hour Rich, the main one that I'm launching and focused on selling. So there's the content series and just feeding that content series. That's a focus of my talking reels. And then the second thing is is just sharing the things that whatever comes to my mind that is still applicable within my niche and within my business, and not worrying about, like trying to fit into these specific content pillars, and really just like, if this comes to my mind and I want to share it, that is what I'm sharing. And so I have a lot of ideas that are coming to my mind, and I'll write them down just in my notes, and then I just pick whatever one is like the last one on my list, which means that it was like I added that one, like, I don't know, prior, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't added to my list today. I try to choose like the older ones so that I can pull from it that way. I will just sit down and I will script it out, and then I will plug that script into a teleprompter, and I will record it, and I will publish it. And there's really truthfully nothing revolutionary about what I'm doing. I'm not a talking reel expert. It's something that I have done, obviously, over time, over the last 5 years being on Instagram and posting content. I, of course, have posted many talking reels, lots of voiceovers, but it's something that I really have not been super consistent with, and it's something that I've never been really good at, is the articulation. Hence why you're listening to this podcast episode right now, and it's 21 minutes in. This podcast episode is a little bit different. I knew that I was going to try and like speak off the cuff a little bit more. And I had more things on my heart that I wanted to share, so I didn't want it to be so outlined. And hopefully this has been, hopefully you've been able to keep track of where I am and my thoughts and whatnot. So thanks for being here. But I also just knew like the skill of being on a talking reel and creating a talking reel and speaking to camera is something that is a really important skill, not just for short form content, but that also can translate into longer form content like YouTube and like podcasting. And also too, just the way that I coach in general, like me hopping on coaching calls or sending voice memos inside of, scalability to my scalability students. That skill of being able to articulate thoughts and being able to speak well so that people want to listen to you, that is truly a skill, and it's something that I have been wanting to improve on for a while. And so I thought, hey, this is a really great time to double down on that. So my goal by the end of July is 300,000 followers, and I'm really, really excited for just putting out value. Like, I'm really truly have nothing except for my AI content series Bought Back. There's really no intention around like conversions or anything like that. It's just me getting myself out of my comfort zone, putting effort back into my content, and really focusing on how can I have more conversations with my community. And it's been working. But I would love to know if you have any questions on anything that I shared, anything that I'm doing. I'm an open book. My direct messages are open, and I am spending more time in my direct messages. Doesn't mean that direct messages don't get lost from time to time, but I really truly am trying to get back to as many direct messages as possible. So I would love for you to reach out. I would love to connect with you. Again, if you have any questions on this or just anything in general with what's working well on Instagram right now, I would love to chat.